Good afternoon, everyone. This is Robert Deetz from Managed Methods, and today I will be presenting to you guys about safety, privacy, in a secure remote learning environment in Google Workspace, Microsoft Office 365, and Zoom. We're very excited for this opportunity, and since there is a minute delay on this stream, I do want you to post any questions you have to the social wall. And at the end of this session, we will save some time to do our best to answer all those questions that get transferred back over to us. Once again, my name is Robert Deetz, and I'm here with my product specialist, Charles Mogen. Today, I'll give you an introduction to who we are as a company and how Managed Methods got started. Then I will talk about why schools need cybersecurity and cyber safety and what's going on with cyber attacks in the K-12 world. After that, I will talk about how we help out these districts handle current challenges in today's trends. After that, I will hand it off to my colleague Charles, and we will give a live demo of our software platform. And lastly, I will be looking at the social wall and answering questions that you may have as they come up. Managed Methods is based out of the beautiful city of Boulder, Colorado, and we have a very, very strong focus on education. 2 years ago, we switched over to strictly be a K-12 education company. And a little bit of background about us is we have many of our staff are parents with kids in the schools, as well as myself, who has, my mother is a teacher. So we're very passionate about what we do. And this really shows through our dedicated customer success and support team, as well as having a wonderful product. Like I said before, we are dedicated strictly to the education market. Right now, we're protecting millions of users in over 1,300 schools. We launched our education platform back in spring of 2017. So we've been working in K-12 for a couple of years now. We're certified Google and Microsoft partners, as well as FERPA, COPA, and Student Data Privacy Consortium certified. Next, this is a screen that shows, some of the awards that we've won. And one that really sticks out to us as a company is we're one of the best places to work. And we really pride ourselves off of this because happy employees create great customer service, which could be a potential benefit to you guys. Who do we work with? Who are you guys? Are you sysadmin, or do you work for a smaller district, and are you doing it all yourself? I would love to know. I would also love to know, what you guys are doing for security right now. What do you have for phishing? What do you have to deal with malware and data loss prevention or web filtering? After this session, I would love to connect and learn more about what you guys have going on. Do schools really need cybersecurity and cyber safety? The answer is yes. When we look at some of the challenges in the culture in cybersecurity and student safety in K-12, you guys are running with you know budget constraints when it comes to cybersecurity, and it's tough for you guys to have an expertise in training in this area because there's many more challenges that you guys face that are prominent from the get-go. Like the tech budgets favor classroom learning and measurable student outcomes, and cybersecurity tends to get overlooked. When it comes to cultural norms, teachers and staff, they want to be able to share information and have everything easily accessible. And staff are not always the most tech savvy or aware of best practice, which can lead to data privacy understanding gaps. And getting this behavior to change within an organization takes training, and tech change can be hard. As a result, when we look in the last few years with cyber attacks on K-12, we've seen a 17% increase in publicly disclosed incidents in 2020 over 2019. 36% of the 2020 incidents resulted in student or staff data breach or leak. The data within you guys' organizations is very valuable. When we look at the nature of these attacks, 12% reported 2020 incidents involved ransomware. A lot of these attackers were going after things such as social security numbers that they could sell on the dark web for $25, $35. And information from a school could be up to $10,000 plus. And also, to speak on those social security numbers, they will use them to get a bank loan or other financial gain. When we look at data privacy in the state of Alabama, there's a couple things that have happened over the last year. In 2018, organizations are required to notify when a data breach has happened. And here recently in 2021, consumers now have the right to know what information is being collected or opt out. And how this could relate to school districts is using that school email to sign up for a third-party app. When we look at having a safe and secure network, well, we want to have good cybersecurity, good compliance, and good cyber safety, and that is a healthy environment right there. What is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity protects school technology, infrastructure, and personal or protected personal information. Some examples here are social security numbers, credit card information, names, addresses, HIPAA, and health information. Some locations where this information can sit could be, on your network, on your computer endpoints, or within your cloud applications. Cyber safety protects the physical content or the physical and emotional well-being of students, faculty, and staff. Some examples of cyber safety could be explicit content, threats of violence, self-harm, or cyberbullying. Where this information will lie could be in email and docs, chat and conferencing apps, or within social media. Compliance is policy and or laws that require districts to protect student data, privacy, safety, and well-being. Some examples are FERPA, COPA, SIPA, HIPAA state laws, including SOPIPA, SOPA, New York Law 2D anti-bullying requirements. Some example locations are school technology, public web, and in-person interactions. What does it take to have, healthy cybersecurity within a school district? It really takes an approach with, not looking at one solution to resolve it all. There's so many things that make up your environment, and if you adopt a multi-layered approach, this can give you the best coverage that will allow for you to achieve that goal. And so when we look at an environment within a K-12 organization, you have your infrastructure where you're doing your backups, your remote access, patch management. You have your network with firewall, secure Wi-Fi network, and content filtering. You have your endpoints with classroom device management, virus protection, and content filtering. There's also identity access with a lot of you guys are using single sign-on or two-factor. And then you have the cloud where your email, file sharing, video conferencing all exists. When it comes to securing the cloud, schools are a little bit behind, and it's by design. Schools are built in a way where we're expecting it to be in person, and when we're in person, we have our firewalls and our LAN WAN limited network. But when you go out of that network, or you're logging on, from different devices, or taking a device home, as a lot of you guys are one-to-one, this starts to raise some more issues, and you don't have that protection anymore. And also another area is, gaining visibility into that cloud-based file sharing and video conferencing. Some good questions to ask when it comes to security in the cloud. What does your file sharing look like for your domain? Files shared outside of our domain, is there any risk in them? Outside files shared or uploaded into our domain, that could include movies, inappropriate content. Who's accessing our shared files? Do we have any potential SIPA violations? Can I monitor Google Meet, Chat, Zoom, and Microsoft Teams? Are students attending class remotely? Are any external users from an outside domain? Is there inappropriate content being posted on Classroom? Is there bullying or threats happening in chat? Who is participating in Google Meet sessions, Team, and Zoom? And then you want to look at apps. What is the app names? Who are using them? How often is the app used? And really, the most important one is what sort of permissions are granted to my users' accounts with certain third-party apps, and what exposure and risks does it present? So now let's talk about what Manage Methods does. How does it work? How do you get Manage Methods onto your environment and helping you answer all of those questions that I had previously stated? Managed Methods deploys in minutes without proxy agents or appliances. The API integrations are accessed through an OAuth token, and we are 100% hosted on the Google Cloud platform. The apps that we cover are the full Google Workspace, Microsoft O365, Zoom, Slack, and Dropbox. Managed Methods works in 4 different areas. We monitor and audit. We do data security and privacy, threat protection, and student safety signals. When it comes to monitoring and auditing, we help you gain real-time visibility into account access and what users are doing in cloud apps. We can track
Hi, my name is Charles Mogen. I'm the product specialist here at Managed Methods, and I'll start going through some of this as we transition over into our live demo here. So one of the things we do is we monitor and audit. So what that's looking at is what kind of visibility and control exists within your Google environment, allowing you to gain some of that, which is either sometimes difficult to access or difficult to easily implement. Being able to see what's going on in classrooms. Monitoring for potential inappropriate behavior and content and student safety threats, such as things like self-harm, bullying, violence, things of that nature, and identifying when there's inappropriate transfer of data, when things are being shared to the outside that shouldn't be, or when things are being emailed to the outside that shouldn't be. With data security and privacy and compliance, being able to identify when those data leaks are happening, being able to set policies to create automatic remediations to say if something is getting transferred to the outside via a share, or if things are being shared in inappropriate ways, do we have policies set up to either take action on those or to identify those very quickly? Look for potential issues with people maybe trying to take large amounts of documents out of the district cloud instance. Identifying when data is being inappropriately transmitted. Another component is going to be malware and phishing and threat protection. The ability to protect your districts from malicious attacks by external threats. So one of the things we look for here is the ability to scan for phishing emails, malware threats, and email message body attachments or links. This is very important, especially with so many different attacks now being so widely publicized in the news. Automatically be able to take action on these various things that are coming in, whether those be quarantined or deleted. To help protect your end users. And then identify those third-party applications which have very powerful permissions into your users' accounts, and make sure that those have the permissions that they should, that there aren't applications out there that you're unaware of or don't realize have powerful permissions. And also look for those anomalous events which might indicate some kind of potential data breach overall. And then the last component, one of the other components here is going to be students' cyber safety signals. So looking for things like self-harm, cyber abuse, bullying, discrimination, explicit content. So we can look for various things within the text itself, attachments, images, and then those alerts can be triaged and sent to the correct people so that those people can help out with those particular incidents that do sometimes unfortunately pop up in the Google and the Microsoft environments. And then look for those threats overall here, wherever they do exist here, whether they be in emails, whether they be in a document or a drive file or a shared drive file, and then make sure that those alerts are going to the correct people here too. So now I'll transition over to the live demo here. Okay, so this is going to be our demo environment here, which shows the number of different things that we're covering here and looking in directly. I'm going to go ahead and go through our Google Workspace for Education environment here. Our Microsoft environment will look very similar, and we'll touch on that a little bit here at the end. So when you first click into view here, the very first thing you're going to see here is going to be the summary screen. The summary screen is our high-level overview of the various elements of the things that we're looking at here. So those various elements that we talked about at the very beginning. So the first thing here is going to be risk. That's our combination of both data loss prevention, so looking for your social security numbers, your credit card numbers that people may have decided to put into the domain, as well as those student safety issues, whether that be self-harm indications or indications of bullying or violence or things of that nature. Next here, we've got our third-party applications. So looking for those various third-party applications that have powerful permissions into your core elements of Google Workspace or your core elements of the Microsoft 365 environment, and making sure that those applications are ones that you do know and trust and should have those high permission levels. Next, we'll have a summary of what's going on within Gmail itself here or within Outlook, identifying those various risk types that we've talked about at the beginning here, and looking at potential phishing emails, whether those be within phishing URLs, making sure that those are being captured and you're aware of those, or having the platform take automatic action on those. We'll also have here a summary on what's going on within drive files, what's going on with shared drive files, as well as malware protection. We leverage silence to that malware protection, and we'll be looking at the overall malware that does exist, and then where that malware is actually distributed itself. So is that in drive files, email attachments, shared drive files? And those will be the three areas. And then on the Microsoft 365 side, it's going to be in OneDrive files, Outlook attachments, as well as those Teams or SharePoint files as well. And at the very bottom here, we've got our geolocation login map as well, providing you some more information on where people are logging in from, ensuring people are logging in from the correct locations, that users are not logging in from places that they shouldn't be. So I'll go ahead and start here off on the risk tab itself here. So if we head to the risk tab, the first thing you'll see here are the overall number of risks here. And this is the areas we're going to be looking at. So we're going to be looking in drive files. We'll be looking in shared drive files. We'll be looking in OneDrive files, SharePoint Teams files. We'll be looking in both Gmail and Outlook. In the case of Google, we'll be looking in Google Classroom announcements as well as Google Chat. Here we can also see the various risks that have been turned on. Risks are something in our platform that are fully customizable. We do have a lot of out-of-the-box risks that are ready to go to help you out, assist with those data loss prevention issues or those potential student safety issues. But our team is very good at building additional risk scans as needed to help you identify things that you may be concerned about. So if I go ahead and click on PII here for an example, I can quickly identify the various risks here that have fallen into this category. By default, this is not identifying directly where these risks are being transmitted, the outside coming in, but through filters and through policies, we can quickly identify and tell the platform, okay, what things am I most concerned about? What things do I want to directly look at here? So if I go ahead and apply a filter here, I can quickly say, I'm most worried about those emails that people are sending to the outside here. This is a real area of concern. So now we can see those various emails. You'll have the ability to click into any of the emails and take a look at basic information about what's going on with these emails directly. So who sent the email, the domain, the subject, who did it actually get sent to in the first place here? Was it both internal as well as external, or just in this case, external? You can also see if there are any email attachments that are part of this as well. And additionally, the specific risk in question here. Here we're seeing this specific social security number identified here. So then from there, you've got some different options you can take on a risk. So we have our Ignore Risk button here. That's the way you clear risks out of the Managed Methods platform. Go ahead and say this incident's basically been marked as resolved, or it's something that you've acknowledged and taken a look at directly. A delete button there is a little bit more powerful. That's going to go ahead and actually delete the piece of content out of the domain entirely. One thing I do want to be transparent with is that because of our API architecture there, we can't directly go ahead and grab those emails that get sent to the outside and delete those. So that's kind of our one limitation there. But certainly files that are being shared to the outside, the platform is more than capable of going ahead and breaking those shares or helping out with any issues of emails within the domain itself. Unfortunately, that's that one limitation there. So if I go ahead and click off that, I can take additional action here too by clicking into these to go ahead and ignore. I can quarantine emails as well here, or delete them or restore them. If I come over here to our self-harm ML here, I can go ahead and identify the various risks here that have been flagged as self-harm, quickly be able to see what's going on with those. So in this case, if I go ahead and click into this risk directly here, again, I get basic information about the risk. But I'll hop over to the risk here directly and talk a little bit about that as well. So here, this one actually got flagged by multiple models here. We also do run an older model we call self-harm strict. It's designed to look for specific keywords and phrases and very, very strict language there. In this case, this one got flagged by both models here. Our self-harm ML model it tries to look at the context and sentiment of the document versus just an overall keyword search there. So it'll provide you with 3 different risk levels of low, medium, and high. Generally speaking, medium and high is where we tend to see most of those self-harm risks fall under there. And then again, you have the ability to ignore risks after you've dealt with the incident. You've involved the correct people as necessary. We also do have a false positive button if you do ever run across a risk that you identify as not being an actual potential self-harm risk there. So additionally here, we can hop over to our Apps tab next to directly look at that. So with the Apps tab here, this is going to be the various third-party applications that exist within the domain here. These various applications here are various ones that people have gone ahead and authorized using an OAuth token. So that can be anything from as simple as they sign in with Google into an application through a web browser, through an extension, through an app they downloaded on their Android phone, on their iPhone. Doesn't matter. As long as they're using the Google credentials or the Microsoft credentials you provide, those applications can be identified in here directly. So here you're able to see the various applications within the domain here, identify those and take a look at them directly. So you'll see here we've got some various categorizations of those applications. Have they been sanctioned by the user base as a whole, and what percentage of the user base is sanctioning one application? And then a risk score we generate based on a number of factors, including its admin level permissions, write permissions, as a way to kind of help you identify apps and quickly kind of categorize those. The main focus area, though, would be access levels. These are the applications that have those very, very powerful permissions into the core elements of the Google Workspace environment here. These are going to be the applications that would be potentially the most concerned here. So if we went ahead and hopped into these directly here, we'd be able to quickly identify those applications. In this case, they could actually view and manage your end users' emails here directly. So here you could be able to identify those. In this case, we've got one that's actually a shopping application here. So we can quickly take a look. If we go ahead and click on the scope categories here, what permissions does this application actually have here? So what kinds of things can this application do? So view your email addresses, probably not as concerning here. But if we hop down here to the view and manage email messages and settings, this is where it would be a bit more concerning here. This application, it's a shopping application, but has the ability to view your email messages and settings. That's a pretty powerful permission for an application there to have. So definitely something that you'd want to look into further and take a look. So one of the things that's very nice here is you can click into an application, you can quickly identify who's actually using the application. It's nice to know that 3 people are using it, but who is this? What's our level of concern here right off the bat? In this case, we see we've got a teacher, a student, and also administrator account that's actually gone ahead and authorized permissions in this application. And if this application were to have some kind of issue or be compromised in some way, this could allow bad actors to have some pretty valuable access into some folks' email addresses or emails inboxes that you probably wouldn't have to happen. So beyond just visibility into here on the app side, we can also take action on these applications. So we can go ahead and determine that, hey, maybe some of these applications in here are ones that shouldn't be in here. So we can go ahead and click in here and we can take action to go ahead and revoke access to an application, which will break permissions to this application on a one-off basis. We can warn end users. We can determine to sanction or unsanctioned applications, basically creating kind of an approved and unapproved list of applications. And with the revoke, we could then set policies for the platform to go ahead and continue to revoke access and continually break those permissions on any one application here. Then our last core component of this applications tab here is going to be the ability to register new apps. So this is a way to go ahead and either sanction or unsanctioned applications before they've actually been discovered. So this is something you could say, hey, we're having an issue here where TikTok is something that's been popping up all the time. We haven't noticed it yet in the domain. We want to make sure that if anyone tries to authorize it, we're going to break the permission set to that. And that's something you can go ahead and do by creating it on an unsanctioned list of applications and then building a policy to say, let's go ahead and make sure that's unsanctioned. And that's a process we help you with too. We want to make sure that you're fully up to speed and ready to go with those third-party applications. So next I'll transition over to Gmail here and talk a little bit about that. This will be very similar to how it works on the Office 365 thing as well, Office 365 side as well, or Microsoft 365. So here you'll be able to see the risks, phishing, malware that have all been identified within various emails here. This email messages tab here gets cleared out about every 4 hours here, but any email that contains risk, phishing, malware, or some kind of email attachment will be retained in here for you to take a look at, further examine, and then take direct action on as needed. So if I go ahead and click into this one here and take a look at this particular one, which does have some phishing that's been detected. You can see here, this one's been identified by Google Web Risk APIs having phishing here. Then I can go ahead and actually click into it directly to see kind of what's going on with the email and then go ahead and take action on the email itself there. And here I have the ability to go ahead and delete those emails, quarantine, which in this case will actually go ahead and just move that particular email to the user's trash folder, restore any quarantined emails as needed, or even share basic information via email as well. We also do have a download and preview functionality, and that's kind of throughout the platform. You have the ability to download various items as well to take a look at them in further depth as needed too. The other component here of this this Gmail component, as well as on the Outlook component here, is the live email search. This allows you the ability to go ahead and find various emails that exist within the domain. So it can be a very helpful tool to find a potential email that maybe a superintendent sent to everybody in the domain accidentally, or maybe a principal did, or maybe you're dealing with a spear phishing issue where you're getting someone's asking for gift cards, or someone's asking for someone to go do something, buy a bunch of iTunes cards and scratch off all the codes and send them out. This would be a way to go ahead and help identify those potential spear phishing emails or other emails within the domain, find those emails, and then take action on them to go ahead and actually delete them, or go ahead and take a look at what was going on with the incident itself. So very powerful tool, and can go quite far back to find those emails as long as they still do exist within the domain here. So next here, I'll hop over to the drive file section here and talk a little bit about drive files. So with drive files here, generally speaking, we go back about 3 months worth of information here. Anything that does contain risk or malware will be retained beyond that 3-month time frame until you decide to take some sort of action on it. So same idea here, you get basic information on any of these various documents here, quickly see what's going on with them directly, see what the basic information is, how the file is being shared, both internally as well as externally, if it's being held at all and by whom, the various risks associated with it, if there are any risks. Not every file may necessarily have some kind of risk with it directly, but this can be helpful to quickly identify those that do, as well as any malware if those did exist as well. One of the most critical areas to look at here is the shared with column. This is quickly letting you identify how files are being shared. So this gold share icon here is going to indicate that this file is being shared via an external link share, or to at least one person who's outside the domain there. A blue link icon here indicating it's being shared with someone in the domain itself. We also have a globe icon here. This is indicating that it's being shared with a global link share, either with view or edit permissions. Probably about the riskiest way to share certain files. There's a lot of files there that probably shouldn't be shared via a global link. Definitely those files are pretty accessible, can definitely be a huge problem for sure. We also do have a file that's being shared here via a domain link as well. That's something that we do see quite often too, where people are sharing documents within the domain that sometimes those links can also even be publicly searchable as well, where potential students or other people who shouldn't have access to those files could find them if they are being shared in that way. So this is all great to be able to see, but then you also do have the ability to take action here. So we can quarantine anything, which will actually go ahead and transfer the ownership of any file that's found here in the Drive Files tab over to the admin of the platform. It'll go ahead and break all those shared permissions and then go ahead and move it over there. So a very helpful feature. You can always restore anything that has been quarantined. You can then also go ahead and download any files here as necessary, as well as delete any files too if needed. We also do have the ability to go ahead and audit file activity, which can go ahead and allow you to look at potential information here up to 6 months on this particular file. So you can look at things like who edited the file, who modified the file, what kinds of changes happened to this particular file in question. And then we can also go ahead and share basic information here too via email. We also do have an unshare button. So if you do need to break shares on any one file, certainly capable of going ahead and doing that, whether it be a global link share, whether it be a link share that's being shared just with one other person. You can also take a bulk action here as well. So you can bulk unshare, bulk delete, whatever is necessary there. And very easy to go ahead and run various filters here to look for various types of sharing that you might be concerned about. So various link shares here, or files just being shared overall too. The other component here of the Drive Files tab here is going to be that live file search. The live file search operates a lot like that live email search. Allows you to do a deeper dive search to look for the various files that do exist within the domain. Very helpful to find one file, multiple files of one user, whatever the case may be there. So very helpful tool as well. So we'll go ahead and talk just briefly on the shared drives here. Primarily just some high-level information. We are going to be scanning for both risk and malware here as well. Give you some insight into who's members of the various shared drives that exist in your domain, as well as the files that do exist in your domain too, that are part of those shared drives. So here we can see these are the various files within the student resources folder. Quickly take a look at any of those. You should be able to see basic information, download any of those files, delete any of those files. And again, we'll be looking for any kind of risk or malware here too. And those will be accessible either on the risk tab here or also on our malware tab here directly too. We'll head to our malware tab next, talk a little bit about that. So we'll leverage Cylance to do that malware scanning. Generally speaking, malware is going to be broken down as suspicious or malicious. Malicious is going to be the greater threat of the two. We can have policies set up directly to go ahead and automatically take remediation on that. So as soon as the email attachment comes in, it could automatically be deleted. File comes in, automatically deleted, or if it were to get uploaded or something like that, those actions would happen quite rapidly there. So here we take a look at this particular email attachment that's been flagged. see the basic information about what happened with this particular malware file, malware email attachment here. See the recipients here, got sent to this particular student here, and then the attachment itself. Because it's got flagged as malicious, the platform won't allow you to download it directly as a security precaution there. And from here, then you can go ahead and take a look at why it got flagged as malware. You have the ability to download a report directly to and see what's going on with it. And then you can take action to go ahead and delete the email attachment, quarantine, which move it to the user's trash folder. Ignore it if it's something that you've looked at and determined, hey, I don't think this is, this is not malware here. Or lastly, show basic information there too. So next I'll hop over to the summary screen here, talk a little bit about geolocation login information. So if we scroll down to the map here, we're looking at various login activity within the domain here. So this can be very helpful to identify potential issues that where users are logging in from, and identify potential issues, potential compromised accounts and the like as well. So lots of pins here on the map, but one of the things that can be really helpful is to utilize a tool we call our login analyzer here. That opens up in a separate screen here, and here we're taking a deeper dive look at login activity. So I can go ahead and hop over here to our event types, and I can go ahead and select login success, as well as suspicious login successful here. These would be two event types where on the side of Google where these logins will be successful. And then I could go ahead and take a look at those logins from outside the United States. Generally speaking, our geofencing is set for the United States is approved, everywhere else unapproved. That can be changed depending on what specific countries you would like as approved or unapproved as well too. So if I go ahead and run this search here, I'll be able to see the various users that logged in from outside the United States here. Be able to see those when those various users logged in, their various IP addresses, the locations, as well as the internet service provider. The internet service provider can be very helpful because a lot of times this is an easy way to identify potential VPNs. Unfortunately, we do see a lot of those, sometimes students trying to subvert various security practices that you have in place, trying to log in using those. And they'll pop up as various cloud hosting service providers or the like as well. There's also an event type here, which can provide a little bit more detailed information about what was going on with the login type itself, as well as put this specific login on an actual map here, give you kind of a more visual idea of where things are going on. So as we continue along here, one of the things you can do is you can pull one of those accounts and say, okay, I want to do a deeper dive investigation. So you come over to the accounts tab here. The accounts tab is a high-level kind of overview of various things that are going on within either Google or Microsoft and the various accounts that are active, suspended, and the like, as well as activity usage, and then accounts that have various issues as well associated with them, whether that be risk, phishing, or malware too. So this student 3 account may be one that I want to take a deeper dive investigation into. Click on the name of this particular user here, quickly be able to take a look at what's going on with this account directly. So here, if we scroll down to the bottom, we'll be able to see the various login activity of this particular user here. And this can be very helpful. In this case, we're noticing, maybe a lot of logins here from India. Maybe that's something that, hey, really no reason that this student would be logging in from India here. We're noticing there's only an hour gap here between the login from California here and now also from India. So that might be something of concern here for sure. So one of the things you can do is then you can run various reports here to take a deeper dive look at this account. So we have this download audit activity. This will allow you to take a look at information up to 6 months here at this particular user's activity within Drive files, within the Google Meet, within login activity, within OAuth tokens, which would be third-party applications. So it's going to be really helpful to figure out what's been kind of going on with this account. Has this account suddenly been starting to download tons of information? Have they been grabbing all kinds of Drive files that they shouldn't? Have they suddenly started logging in from anywhere and everywhere? Are they trying to authorize a bunch of third-party applications that they never would have before? So lots of ways to go ahead and take a look at this information here further. We also do have an integration here with Have I Been Pwned, which is a wonderful website which provides a lot of great information on data breaches themselves here. So this will run a one-time lookup on any of your accounts. Those lookups can be run continuously, but we don't do any kind of domain-wide lookups here. So in this case, we can see that this particular student hasn't had any data breaches associated with this account. So this may be something where maybe the student's actually traveling, or maybe it's a case of, the students maybe share credentials out somewhere else or something else is going on here too. So that might warrant a larger conversation there. You can also go ahead and take additional actions to suspend users, unsuspend users, or even change passwords as needed too, which can be very helpful. If you do run into an account that's been compromised, you need to take rapid action on that account to go ahead and re-secure it there. So if I go ahead and head back here, next we'll talk about policies and kind of how those tie everything together here. Because obviously, visibility and being able to look into all this information is great, it's fantastic. But of course, a lot of you folks are limited on time, limited on resources. So you need to have the platform be able to identify things that matter most to you, or take direct action on things that matter most to you,
versus you having to dive in directly into things. So this is our policy violations tab, which is our running log of the various violations of policies that you do have set here. So this is a quick, easy way to see, okay, what's happened within the domain here? What issues are we running into? Let me quickly take a look at this one here. It looks like we've got a phishing email here. Very easy to see what was going on with the incident, who was part of the incident. I could click the name here. This would hop me over to that phishing email so I could do a deeper dive look at it. And then I could go ahead and take a look at the specific policy as well here too. That was created to try to address this phishing email. So as we continue along here, I'll go ahead and click on View and Edit Policies and talk about the policies themselves, which is kind of the core element here of the Managed Methods platform here. So the policies here will be broken down into 3 sections. Content policies, which is anything to do with Drive, Gmail, shared Drive files, as well as Google Chat, Google Classroom announcements. On the Microsoft side, that'll be OneDrive files, Outlook, SharePoint, and Teams. So these content policies here will be trying to identify those various things that you might be worried about, whether it be malware, whether it be people sharing sensitive information like social security numbers or credit card numbers, or more of the student safety side of things, whether it's trying to identify potential issues of self-harm or various inappropriate images that might exist within the domain as well, things like toxicity, which is a large combination of behavioral risks that we have here as well too. So with these various policies, policies don't have to necessarily involve the specific risk. The policy can be as simple as saying, hey, we're having issues with OUs that shouldn't be sharing to each other that have decided to go ahead and start doing that. Or maybe we have one user that we want to keep a closer eye on. Maybe there's one user who's decided to share out a lot of information that they shouldn't. A lot of ways to configure policies there. If we come back to the top here, you'll notice that there's a notify admin on policy violation. This is who receives email notifications when policies are violated. Those email notifications go out every 4 hours. But you can always overwrite those with a send email too if there's somebody else who should directly be handling in one incident. Maybe it's a counselor or a principal that handles more of the self-harm thing. You could add them there and they would get those notification emails. They would also probably need to have an account within the Managed Methods platform. And we can limit access as well for them to be able to see just certain things that you want them to directly take a look at too there. So if I come over to user policies here, again, this is primarily dealing with user login activity. So the first one here, looking for any suspicious logins from outside the United States. One thing I see a lot of times is that there are issues where, you see some kind of alert from Google letting you know that there's been a suspicious login, but it doesn't give you as much detailed information as you like. So this can be helpful to quickly identify those and say, okay, well, here's the country it was from, or here's what's going on with the incident overall. And then we can make determinations on that. And then we can set remediation on these policies too to go ahead and directly say, let's go ahead and revoke access or reset the password or suspend the user or warn the end user about the particular issue. And that'll be similar in content policies too. We can set various remediation types, whether it be to break shares or quarantine files or delete things as well. So lots of ways to go ahead and approach remediation here, which is the way you can have the platform take action for you, kind of handle specific incidents. That you say, hey, if it's link shares, maybe it's link shares that contain social security numbers or credit card numbers. Let's go ahead and handle that with breaking shares or deleting files or whatever the case may be. So lots of ways to kind of try to handle those various incidents. And then lastly, here we've got our app policies here. App policies will be looking at those various third-party applications out there. So this is a way to go ahead and set policies and say, hey, if these applications keep popping back up into the domain, let's go ahead and set a policy to go ahead and revoke access to these applications on a continual basis. In the case of these applications here. So anytime a new application pops up, it has to go through maybe an approval process, or maybe it has to go through a quick vetting process so that you don't have third-party applications out there that you're not aware of, or that you don't have issues with people authorizing applications that have really powerful permissions that you're not aware of. So definitely a very helpful way to kind of take a look at things here too. A very powerful way to kind of help you get a quick handle here on third-party apps. So that's kind of everything combined on the Google side here. So I'm going to hop back over to the audit and control section here, and we'll just do a quick look here at the Microsoft side here. So very similar here. So there's a summary screen, there's an accounts tab. You'll notice the terminology is a little bit different. There's a OneDrive files tab, an Outlook tab, and a SharePoint tab. But looking at identical things here, risks again fully customizable, completely able to set those up. Same idea with policies here as well. One area that's going to be a little bit more limited is going to be the third-party applications on the Microsoft side. We don't offer specific direct policy remediation through third-party applications, but you still do have similar access and ability to go ahead and take action on the applications that do exist to break permission sets on that one-off basis there. So. All right, well, I will go ahead and stop presenting here, and we'll go ahead and
All right, so what sort of districts use us and why? A lot of times districts that use us find the value in us when it comes to user experience with a single platform to manage Google, Microsoft, and Zoom, or if districts are on a hybrid of all three, or a certain two of those three, it's also very easy for them to go into our console and be able to look at everything from one place. It's also we give them the ability to have a triage and solve problems much faster with our intuitive and easier to use and more efficient tool, rather than if you were on Google, going into tab by tab to work in different areas. Visibility and control. We give you more granularity in Google Workspace and Microsoft Office. We can help you really dig into those third-party apps and that email environment with the live file and email search, and really look at, are any of your accounts being, targeted, or is there multiple or suspicious logins? And also looking at what sort of sensitive data that is sitting on your files. And then it comes to the kids. We want them to be safe and have a safe learning environment where there is no physical or emotional harm. And we give you the ability to use advanced machine learning and artificial intelligence to detect cyberbullying, threats of violence, or sexual content that's being shared on your platforms. Here are a few testimonials from some of our current customers. Greg Hogan is one of our customers over in Georgia. I do not have any testimonials from our two customers here in Alabama, but those districts are Tuscaloosa and Choctaw. Thank you guys so much for attending today. And now I'm going to take a look and see if we have any questions to answer. It looks like we don't have any questions. So once again, thank you guys for giving us the time today.